Let's play a game of Spot the Difference. Hey everyone, and welcome back to episode 41 of the Gamer Crafting Podcast. I'm Angie Indie Dyer and General Mess, and I chose this specific Easter Bunny chocolate because it has some fabulous blue glasses, as I do. That's why I chose it over all of the other chocolate. I will drop a link to where I got my glasses in the description because I know a bunch of you are going to ask, and I've already had a bunch of people ask me, I'm going to make this company make me an affiliate. I'm not, but I should be. Anyway, so I wanted to open up this episode with saying just an enormous big deep sigh. I'm pretty sure that's all any of us really have left to give is just big, deep, enormous sighs. I know that a lot of us are having fabulous, excellent, good hair days with nowhere to go, nowhere to see them. And to be honest, that's just a crime. It's just a crime. In other news, I've been seeing a lot of weight loss and sort of fat-phobic memes running around on social media that have made me give another big... I saw a tweet going around yesterday, and it just said, you don't need to eat that over and over and over again, like until it reached the character limit. And I thought, you know, yeah, I know a lot of people who aren't used to working from home might end up eating a bit more than they would if they were sticking to their usual routine. But y'all, if you feel like you need to have an extra snack to get through this absolutely hellscape of a world right now, it's fine. One extra snack or two extra snacks or whatever, like, it's not gonna kill you. It's fine if that's how you need to cope. I know a lot of people are having to deal with the fact that they're cooking, 3 meals for their whole family instead of, 1, where you'd give your kids, I don't know, cereal or toast or whatever and send them off to school. And now it's like, well, you're having to cook more for breakfast. You're having to make sure everybody has, lunch, whereas maybe they had lunch at school before, and you're having to do a lot of meal planning with not a lot of information. I'm sure all of you have dealt with, shortages and stuff at the grocery stores in your area. It's been kind of a worldwide thing for the most part, or it's at least been a thing here in the UK and in America. I don't know about anywhere else. And when you're trying to meal plan and you think, oh, well, let's do tacos for, let's do a big batch of tacos and then we'll have tacos for 2 nights or 3 nights or whatever. Or even if you're only going to have it for 1 night because you have a big family. And then you get to the store and you're like, well, I can't find this, and I can't find this, and I can't find this, and I can't find this. And you're in the store and you're trying to, get in and out of the store as fast as you can, but also trying to, plan in your head. And it's just, not everybody is really good at that. I'm certainly not very good at that. If I go into the store and my plan is disrupted, my meal planning plan is disrupted, I sort of go into a weird fugue state and just buy random things and hope that we can turn it into a dinner at some point. So a lot of us are dealing with that. And then, if you've got kids that, are picky eaters, or if they have sensory issues or what have you, then you're probably having to cook things that they'll eat. And if you're limited on your food supply anyway, then, maybe you're not able to eat the kind of thing that you personally would like to eat. You're having to default to what your kids will eat, which I know is a problem anyway, but even more so now with not being able to get stuff in stores. It's just wild. So, don't be all hard on yourself if you do end up gaining weight during this period. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how the world's going to look when we come out on the other side of this. Give yourself a damn break. Eat the Easter Bunny with the excellent blue glasses. I beg of you. Please don't beat yourself up. I know that I will probably gain a bit of weight during this period because we're not going to the gym 3 times a week as we were before. We canceled our gym memberships a few weeks ago. Or rather, we froze our gym memberships, which means we won't get charged now, but then when everything opens back up again, our memberships will reinstitute. What is going on with this lighting? It's like the camera just doesn't know what to do. So, it's fine. Put your leggings on. I've got my fabulous Galaxy leggings on. I don't remember where I got them. For all of you who might be asking, I have no idea. I don't remember where I got them. I've had these for years. Put on your yoga pants, put on your leggings, just as much as you can. Just try and give yourself a break, please. You know, there's been a lot of like, now's the time to write your novel. Now's the time to write a symphony. Now's the time to knit 1,400 sweaters. Just chill. If you're not feeling creative, if you're not feeling productive right now, that's fine. That's normal. A lot of us are exhibiting, you know, signs of like a trauma response, and a lot of that weird, drifty, day to day, you feel kind of just sad all the time, you're not really able to get your shit together. That is a trauma response. It's a response, like it's a grieving response. A lot of us are grieving, you know, maybe we're grieving our routine or our schedule if we're people who really rely on that kind of structure in our day to help us. You know, maybe you're grieving events that you really wanted to attend that now you can't. That was something that just came through the door. You know, maybe you're grieving that. We were meant to go to a concert and we didn't go. This was a few weeks ago. Oh, I don't even think it was that long ago. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. This month has felt like forever. I swear every week lasts like a month. We were supposed to go to a concert a few weeks ago, and this was before any of the lockdown. And I think it was maybe just a couple of days before the official government advice to avoid events. But we were looking at the way things were, and we were like, you know, it's probably not a good idea to go to this gig, which was in Hackney. You know, it's not a very big place for it to be taking place. People are packed in really tight. It was a sold out gig. So we were like, well, it's probably the more sensible and responsible thing, given that we may end up having contact with people who are, you know, immune suppressed or immunocompromised due to everything that's going on. It just seems like a more responsible thing to not go. And that's something that we booked back in. So that was something we booked a long time ago, and we didn't go to that. I had to cancel my book launch party, which is a bummer. But again, it's the responsible thing to do, and I basically canceled that even before the event itself canceled. I had decided that I wasn't going to go and I wasn't going to do it because it just didn't seem like a great idea. It seemed irresponsible. Maybe you're grieving, you know, the fact that you have sick family members or loved ones that you can't go and see because of obvious reasons. There's a lot of reasons that people could be feeling just weird and off, and please, like, ease off some of that pressure to just be this super productive ultra warrior in this unprecedented time. I know that I've been really struggling to feel creative, and then feeling guilty that I'm not being creative, and feeling guilty that I haven't completed, you know, editing my second book and started book 3 and finished all of the knitting and whatever. Like, instead I've just, since it came out last week, I've been playing, you know, a lot of Animal Crossing. And because it's what I have needed. I've just needed just calm and low stakes. Like, I even gave up on some books I was reading that were quite like high stakes books, you know, and I was like, I can't do this right now. I have to read something much fluffier. So then I started reading quite a fluffy book, and it's been better. So please, please, please give yourselves a giant break. Please don't buy into this whole everyone has to be super productive all the time. That's kind of a symptom of late capitalism, and we're kind of seeing that kind of start to crumble a little bit. And you realize that all these things that, you know, various political parties say are impossible are suddenly very possible when it's things that threaten them. Anyway, so I haven't actually gotten really very much knitting done or crochet done over the past week. I was very busy dyeing yarn, and we were very busy packing orders because we're only going once a week now in order to be more responsible and everything. On that note, let me just quickly sort of explain that. So the government said all non-essential businesses had to close, but they said that they encouraged online businesses to remain open, and that's also because they don't want everybody to have to need support, basically. And if you can continue supporting yourself, then they would rather that you do that, as long as postal service and couriers are still running, which they are. And honestly, a lot of the guidelines that the government has set out for self-employed people or small business owners, like it's pretty strict. So there's a lot of people that won't qualify for those grants or that help, even if their businesses do suffer, if they haven't been trading long enough, if they don't have a bricks and mortar premises, if they subletted that bricks and mortar premises from another landlord and so the council doesn't have record of them, then they're not eligible. There's all these working pieces and all these moving parts that might mean that people aren't going to be eligible for that help even so. So as of right now, we are going once a week, whereas we would usually go 3 times a week. We're going once a week now, so please do allow a bit of extra time for stuff to get dispatched. And if you are living overseas, you'll have to allow quite a bit more time, because most post originally would kind of go along with passenger flights, but as there's a lot of flights that have been canceled and grounded and so on and so forth, there's a lot more limited space on cargo flights that they want you to pay quite a hefty surcharge for, and everything else is going sea freight. So that's the deal with that is. But we use a local pack and ship business. We use a local pack and ship. It is a small business owned, place, because our post office shut, because the post office is inside the library, which shut. So we can't even have access to the post office even if we wanted to. So our local pack and ship is still open, but he sent an email out almost a week ago now, and that email said, "Hey everyone, I just want to let you know the business is closing to the general public because I feel like it's irresponsible to keep it open, and it's a small shop and I don't want people crowding in here." So he's closed it to the general public, and but he's still processing things for account holders, of which we are, obviously. And the way that works is I basically go up to the door, which is still shut and locked, and I have to call 15 minutes ahead of time to say, "Hey, like, I'm heading in, I'll be there soon." And then I knock on the door with my elbow when I get there, and he opens the door, and I don't even see his face. I shove bags of packages under like the metal shutter thing that comes down over like storefronts. I shove the packages under, and that's it. And then I get an invoice at the end of the day once all the packages have been processed. So there's literally no social contact. I literally just shove them through the door, and that's it. And it's also right next to where we do our food shopping, so I'm not even going out of my way to drop them off. So that's kind of what we're doing as far as shipping orders is concerned. We've been so busy with stuff. I've not really done very much knitting or crochet over the last week, plus I've just been kind of like dazed and confused. Not like the film, more just dazed. I will show you the 4 new bases that I've got, though, that I will be dyeing over the next week, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that next week. Hopefully I'll be able to show you the dye experiments next week. So I will show them to you in order of which I got them, I guess it doesn't really matter. So this is a brand new base. As you can see, it is like a chunky single ply with glitter, with sparkles, and this is not 100 grams, it's 150 grams, so they're a bit beefier. You could buy one and make yourself, a nice cowl or something. Yeah. Anyway, so this is 150 grams, and so I'm going to be dyeing this up. It's merino. So I'm going to be dyeing this up, and as usual with my dye experiments, I usually test. I do a semi-solid, I do a variegated, I do a speckle, just to see how the dye takes across, multiple techniques, basically. I also got this. So this is a super chunky. I don't know if you can tell, but this is a super chunky. This is a regular chunky. This is a merino and yak blend, which is hard to find without silk in it. And I don't dye silk because I don't like the way that silk is processed. It makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. So, yeah, so that's the deal with that. Anyway, so this is a merino and yak blend chunky yarn. It's got not a super hard twist, but like a decent twist that will give you a nice definition. And so I'm going to dye that one up as well. I honestly, if nobody buys the merino yak chunky, I'm just going to steal it all for myself and make myself 8 million sweaters with this because it's very soft. So I also got this. This is a bit of a different one for me. But I saw it and I thought I would give it a try. Basically, my thought is if I dye these with some of the neon semi-solid shades, it might end up looking really cool. This is not merino. It's a bit more of a rustic, but it's not super coarse. It's not really rough. It's still pretty soft. But this is the kind of yarn that would be really good for like color work, because it would sort of, the fibers grab each other a bit more. You end up with a bit more of a solid color work rather than something that can look a bit piecey. Sometimes if you use superwash when you do color work, it can look a bit separate-y, like the fibers don't knit together. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking I'd like to see how this turns out with some of the neons. I will still try some variegated on it. I probably won't try speckles on this because I feel like they'd get lost, although you never know. Maybe I'll just try it anyway. So that's 3. I have another base. So this is a linen and bamboo. So this is one of the new plant yarns I'm going to be doing. As some of you longtime fans, I don't want to use that word, people who've been following for a while, I used to do a lot more plant fibers, and then I stopped because I started doing more animal fibers, and I didn't really have the space because the way that the dye works is wildly different, and basically you need space to batch plant fibers, and they need to sit for like at least a full day, if not longer, before you rinse them. And so the process is just different, but I think that this will be interesting to see how this dyes up. So that, again, that's linen and bamboo. I feel like this would do well with like a shawl. It would have like a nice drape to it. And then I also have a 100% cotton. I used to do 100% cottons before, but it was a different base, and I'm not as familiar with this one. So I'm gonna have to see how it does. So 2 new plant fibers, 3 new protein fibers. I'm going to be dyeing those all up, hopefully over the next week, and then I'll be able to show you next week some of the dye process and everything. Like I said, I haven't really gotten much knitting done. I have my next yarn ready for my blanket, which is behind the couch somewhere. So that's my Light in the Darkness Blanket Club. I decided to crochet it, and I decided to do a simple ripple crochet blanket, just something that's really easy and a bit mindless. And I couldn't find any of my 7mm hooks. Couldn't find it anywhere. And I thought, all right, well, I guess I'll order one. So I ordered one, and it arrived, and I used it, and I made what I have of the blanket so far. It's like this big so far. And I've done like 2 months of colors, so I figured that's pretty decent. I used it for that, and then I went to go pick it up the other day because I was going to wind this and start on with the next color. Couldn't find that new hook. It's gone. My apartment ate it. I think it just got like swallowed up by the floor or something, because I remember seeing it. Oh, this is such a problem with me with crochet hooks. Like with knitting, like it's rare that you're going to lose your needles because you know, like all the stitches are on your needles. But with crochet, because you've only got that, like, well, unless you're doing Tunisian, like with most standard crochet, you've only got like 1 loop live at a time. And I'm just forever losing crochet hooks. And so I ordered another one. And I'm going to start with, I know as soon as I pull it out of its package, I'm going to find that other one, and I'll probably find the original one too. Ugh. Anyway, so I haven't really done much over the past week. I've just felt in kind of like a weird headspace. But then last night we've been doing a big rewatch of The Office, the American Office. And because it's really light and it's fluffy and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of just what we need right now. And Sarah found a podcast called The Office Ladies. And if you're familiar with the American Office, it's the women who played Angela and Pam running a podcast and telling all kinds of like behind the scenes stuff from each episode. And that has been a source of like a lot of just fun, fluffy joy. It sparks joy. So if you like The Office, then definitely check out the Office Ladies podcast because it is a lot of fun. Anyway, so we were sitting last night and we were watching The Office, and I was like, I am kind of almost feeling like some of that knitting mojo, and specifically knitting mojo for some projects that I abandoned a while ago. So I think I'm going to try and finish my framework bralette because it's, I don't know, like 3/4 done, I guess. Something like that. Anyway, so I'm gonna finish up my ripple bralette. No, framework bralette. Ripple bralette is the other one. I'm gonna finish that up, and then I was thinking I might return to my Fur Fox Sake sweater, which has been in hibernation for like a year, and then I will pull it out and hopefully get through the rest of that color work. I think, like I keep saying it, I think there's only like 10 rounds left of that color work, and then I can just brainlessly knit through the rest of the body of the garment. So as I said, I went out to town yesterday. It took, I think we had, I don't know, a lot of packages. I didn't count them. They filled up a huge, one of those huge zippable IKEA bags. It was like stuffed to the brim, and had another bag as well. So only I went out because if you can, you should only be sending one person to the grocery stores. And as like it's impossible to get grocery delivery around here, it's also not been possible to get any click and collect. Not that that would really help anyway, because we don't have a car right now. Our car died like right before all of this kicked off. Like a week before all of this kicked off, we got rid of the car because it had reached the end of its life, which is ridiculous because now we're like, well, now is when we'd be looking to get a new car, and we can't. So we're hoping that nothing happens that makes us need one. It's just a bit more inconvenient. But anyway, so I walked into town, which is like a 10 minute walk-ish. So I walked into town, and there weren't many people, and the people that were out were, social distancing, walking on opposite sides of the sidewalk and everything. Got into town, shoved packages under the door, and then I went to go and get food because we didn't really have much left. There's only the two of us. We don't have kids. Obviously, we don't have to feed anyone other than ourselves. And so I get why some people have, hoarded food. I get why some people have done it. It's because they're worried that somebody, like either they or somebody in their family will get sick and they won't be able to get food. And if you've got kids, I can realize that that's a bit more of a stress than if it's just two adults who can, suck it up and eat the gross stuff in the cupboard that nobody wants to eat if you're really that hungry. So, anyway, so we didn't have much, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go and I'll get stuff. And so I went over to Aldi, and it was definitely kind of a, I don't know, kind of a, I don't want to say shock, but like something slightly less than a shock, a surprise, I guess, maybe, I don't know, that a lot of the same people that have been posting on our like local Facebook page saying like, oh, it's just a flu, this is BS, it's media hype, you're all being ridiculous, are now the people that are showing up to the store wearing gloves and masks and this kind of thing. So that kind of shows you like how quickly people's ideas are changing in some places. There's other places where people are still super adamant that this isn't a thing, and you're like, the government really likes to not spend money. So would they be building field hospitals and stuff if they didn't have to? No. So in any case, they were only letting, I think, 10 people into the store at a time. And you had to wait outside, and there was like lines painted or taped onto the sidewalk outside to ensure distancing when you're waiting in line. Now, I straight up refuse to go super early when the store's open and queue up with loads of other people. I am not about that life. There's nothing that I need that much that I'm desperate enough to go and wait for when the store's open. I get that there's people who are desperate enough because maybe they need things like baby formula or baby food. Again, completely different scenario. So if you're sitting there going, well, I had to queue up at the beginning or when the store's open because I have to get my baby formula, that's different. It's a different scenario. Sarah and I are both grown-ass adults. We are not responsible for any small humans. Anyway, so this was sort of like 12 or 1, sort of early afternoon, and I was in the store within about a minute and a half because there wasn't really much of a queue, and they handed me a freshly sanitized shopping basket. Like, they did it in front of me, sanitized the shopping basket, and then handed it to me. And I was wearing a hoodie, so I was kind of using like the crook of my arm as much as I could, or like my sleeves as like little pinchy grabber claws, like a crab. And because there was only like 10 people allowed in the store at a time, I was able to, I think, get just about everything that I had hoped to get. They've sort of seemed to have recovered from the initial not being able to keep up with stocking because they've hired more staff and everything. So there wasn't really anything that I needed that I couldn't get. Everything was there. And then I got up to the till, and the woman was scanning through my stuff. And I said, thank you so much. I said, I hope everybody's being nice to you. And she laughed and she said, no. And I said, well, they should be. And she said, they should be, but they're not. She said, it's actually been really horrible. And it just kind of made my heart break, Yesterday in the UK, a lot of people did this sort of clap for the NHS thing. And it's like, sure, but also vote for policies that are going to make sure that you can get rid of the pay cap for people in the NHS, and maybe also vote to make sure that their numbers aren't cut, that they aren't laid off, that there isn't chronic underfunding. Like, clapping's fine, I guess, in these times, but like it needs to be followed with like actual action. Otherwise it means nothing. It's just an empty gesture. Anyway, but I was just thinking there's a lot of other people on the front lines that people aren't, tripping over themselves to support and say, oh, I support the NHS workers. I mean, good, obviously we should, they're on the front lines, but there's a lot of other people that are doing necessary services that people don't really think about. People like working at the stores, working to stock the shelves, people who pick up your garbage, coming into contact with who the hell knows what, that are doing an unnecessary service. I mean, imagine how fast society would break down if there was nobody picking up the trash. Post carriers, people that are doing daycare for key workers, the list goes on and on. I just felt really bad that obviously people have been quite abusive and mean to somebody who can't help the stock levels that happen in a store, can't help the policies, can't help this wild situation that we're all in together, basically worldwide. None of us can help it. None of us can stop it. It's just, come on. And I know the people who watch this podcast aren't going to be the people that are being assholes to service staff. So I'm not going to lecture you because it's, preaching to the choir. You're all probably sitting there going, yeah, absolutely, totally. It just sucks. I know a lot of us have worked service jobs. I've worked service jobs. I've worked retail. I've worked in stores before. And I remember, especially around Christmas, that people would just lose their shit. People would lose it over the most minor of things. And if you weren't able to help them, they would like scream at you, you're ruining Christmas for my family, you're ruining Christmas for my kids. And you're like, I don't have control over this. I can only imagine that this current scenario is Christmas madness times like a million. Because people are worried about getting food, they're worried about getting, toilet paper to, I don't know, build a fort against the virus. I guess, I don't know. People are worried about their families, people are worried about getting medication. It's a whole thing. But it was definitely a bit sobering. That's the word that I was looking for a bit earlier when I was like, not shocked. It was definitely a bit sobering to see how fast things have changed. It's only been a couple of weeks since we were being told, it's fine, maybe avoid some bigger events, but everything's gonna be fine. This will pass, we'll be fine. And now suddenly, we have these perhaps not extraordinary measures being taken place, but, not too far off. Normally, that particular store that I went to, which is an Aldi, by the way, if you're wondering. Normally, that particular store it's just rammed, like, basically any time of day. It's a popular store. We live in a moderately sized commuter town. It's usually busy all the time. And so I was kind of amazed yesterday. I was expecting to see a massive, huge queue. And if there had been a massive, huge queue, I probably would have either tried a different store, because we live in a town that has like loads of grocery stores that are in very close proximity. I probably would have tried another store, or I would have just come home and been like, we're going to eat the artichoke hearts for dinner that have been in the cupboard for like a year. We're going to have artichoke hearts and whatever else is in there. Something random. Because I'm not about waiting in line with a bunch of other people and potentially. Like, it's just, because we don't have to, again. It's different if you have to. And I'm trying to be quite conscious to not take up space where I don't have to right now. I'm not disabled, neither is Sarah. Neither of us are immune compromised, though we are trying to just be as careful as we can. My point is that we're trying to be very mindful, and that the way that it would affect us is very different as to how it would affect somebody else who is immune compromised, or somebody else who's a carer for somebody who's immune compromised. You know, there's all these moving pieces to the way that society works, and I think that a lot of that is starting to come to light now, and people are starting to think more about, oh, well, you know, universal credit is really unfair. And it's been unfair for a long time, but because it was mostly disabled people who had to rely on universal credit, like, it wasn't something that most people really cared about. And that's why I'm kind of hoping on the other end of this, maybe people will be a bit more empathetic, I hope. I mean, the human race isn't, like, super known for its long-winded empathy. We'll be empathetic for about 5 minutes and then get right back to being really judgy and blamey and garbagey just as a species. So my hope is that at the end of this, you know, we'll all have, like, you know, maybe developed or grown a bit of empathy. For the people that don't usually have empathy, maybe they'll start to think, maybe. That's perhaps an empty hope. Maybe that's a pipe dream. But we can only hope. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on at Casa Game of Crafting. So I have some more back orders that need dyeing. Operation Social Justice closes in a few more days, so if you wanted to get a pre-order in, then please do so. As I said, a lot of small businesses aren't going to be eligible for these protections and grants that the government has put forth. And, right, some of these grants, for the majority of people, aren't even going to become available until June. Not even until June. So if people are having to pay rent and buy their kids food and, you know, new crayons and stuff to keep them, you know, educated and entertained during this unprecedented time, they're not going to have any money coming in, and they're not going to have any help for 2 months, which is, I don't understand how people think that this is all going to work, while people continue to have to pay rent and utilities and all this other kind of stuff. It's, you know, we can't have it all. We can't have people not working and still paying all of their bills and expect that nothing bad's gonna happen and that society won't break down. Anyway, that's my rant. My point is that if you are able to support small businesses, I would recommend you support small businesses right now. And, you know, if you can't, obviously, there's obviously no shade. We're all limited as to what we can do and what we can handle, and a lot of us are just trying to figure out what the hell comes next after all of this. We had a lot of plans for this year that have been, you know, completely torpedoed. I know that that's not unique. We are not unique in this at all. I know lots of people had lots of plans for this year that have been completely torpedoed. And we're all having to think, well, you know, what now? Well, what do we do now? How do we start to rethink? I mean, there's not even any point to re-planning right now because we don't know how long any of this is going to last. Anyway, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say. And please tune in next week. I will be doing the dye experiments next week, probably. Most likely. I'm 85% certain that next week will be dye experiments. So do tune in for that. And please stay safe. Please, you know, do what you can. I hope that you're able to get access to everything that you need. And I don't know. These are just wild times. I hope that you're all managing, and I hope that you're all okay, and I hope that we all get through to the other side of this, and I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I'm not a virologist. I can't make any claims about things. I can't, you know, give advice because that's not my lane. My lane is a specific other lane. So I will say, you know, eat the chocolate if it makes you feel better. Don't worry about trying to lose weight right now. Don't worry if you do gain some weight right now. It's fine. This is unprecedented. Just relax, chill, give yourself a break. Don't feel like you have to be super productive. You know, this will come to an end at some point. We don't know when that is yet, but it will. It will. So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe. Drop me a comment down below with what you've been doing, working on, or if you just want to say hi. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week.